Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fueling Success, creating a strong after school meals program to keep children fed, hosted by the Food Research and Action Center. I'm Steve Hayward, FRAC's Communications Manager. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few brief housekeeping items. We expect this webinar to run about 60 minutes. We are recording the presentation and will send the recording and slides in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is available. To turn captions on, click Show Captions in the bottom taskbar and select English as the spoken language. We'll have time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. To ask a question at any time, please use the Q&A tab, also in the bottom taskbar. With that, I'll pass it off to Kelsey Boone, Senior Child Nutrition Policy Analyst at FRAC. Take it away, Kelsey.
Thanks so much, Steve. Next slide. Welcome everyone to our webinar this afternoon. I just want to go over a brief agenda. Today we will be starting out with some introductions of speakers, as well as going over obviously the agenda. We will then go into some best practices to expand after school meals. And then we will see it in action by the presentations from East Central Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas, and the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina. And then we will hear from the After School Alliance to talk a little bit about what is happening at the national level before we go into the question and answer session. Next slide. So our speakers today are Meredith Rokas, Director of Purchasing and Child Nutrition at the East Central Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. Amy Hobbs, the Director of Food Services of the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina. And Jillian Luckner, the Policy Director of the After School Alliance. Next slide. So first we want to kind of zoom out and look at why after school snacks and suppers are important. So these programs work to combat hunger and food insecurity by providing free meals to children 18 and under at sites in low-income communities. These programs support overall operations for schools, meal sponsors, and after-school programs by providing reimbursement for meals and snacks. These programs are very flexible. That includes flexibility in timing, flexibility in meal options, as well as locations and partners. And lastly, we want to ensure that children have the nutrition they need to stay engaged, and these programs draw them in to the programming of after-school programs. Next slide. So there are two options when it comes to after-school nutrition: the after-school snack program through the National School Lunch Program, as well as the CACFP, Child and Adult Care Food Program, after-school meal program. Next slide. So just a brief overview of the National School Lunch Program snack program. So snacks served through NSLP must be sponsored or operated by a school food authority that participates in NSLP. And while this option is easier for schools, it is limited to just a snack. So there are two ways a school food authority can get reimbursed, and that is either by qualifying to provide all children snacks that are reimbursed at the free rate by reaching the 50% area eligibility threshold, or by qualifying children individually and receiving reimbursement based on their free or reduced price status. These snacks must be served with an enrichment or educational component, and a snack must contain two of the meal components of a grain, a protein, a milk, and a fruit or vegetable. Next slide. So the Child and Adult Care Food Program After School Suppers provides up to one meal and one snack per day to children 18 and under. These can be served after school, on weekends, and during school holidays, excluding summer vacation when the Summer Food Service Program runs. Sites can qualify to provide after-school meals and snacks by being located in the attendance area of an elementary, middle, or high school that has at least 50% of its student enrollment certified to receive free or reduced price school meals. Once a site meets this threshold, it receives the free or higher reimbursement rate for all the meals and snacks served. Once again, there must be an enrichment or educational component, and these suppers must contain all 5 of the meal pattern components, so a grain, a protein, a milk, a fruit, and a vegetable. Next slide. So I just wanted to briefly touch on FRAC's After School Suppers report. So every year, FRAC releases this report, which looks at both CACFP at-risk suppers and snacks and NSLP snacks. This report tracks participation rates over the years, looks at numbers of sites and sponsors, and contains state-specific data on participation. Next slide. The after-school supper program served 1.23 million children on an average weekday in October 2023, an increase of 73,878 children, or 6.4% from October 2022. Participation in after-school suppers remained low when compared to pre-pandemic levels, serving 193,000 less children in October 2023 than in October 2019. Next slide. So now we're going to delve into some of the best practices of the after-school nutrition programs. So this first set is really for sites and sponsors. So the first is to serve suppers instead of or in addition to snacks. So one of the simplest strategies to reduce student hunger and improve nutrition is for the after-school programs to provide a supper. If the program extends long enough, you can offer both a supper and a snack. By not providing supper, sponsors and sites pass up significantly higher federal reimbursements that make the after-school nutrition program more financially viable. An after-school supper requires 5 food components, as mentioned before, but a supper's reimbursement rate is 2.5 times more than that of a snack. The second is to expand to year-round participation. In many communities, these after-school programs serve essentially the same group of kids during the school year as they do during the summer months. And most summer meal sites are eligible to provide after-school meals. To ensure consistent access to nutrition during these out-of-school time hours all year long, targeted outreach should be conducted to bring summer meal sites into the after-school supper program when the school year begins, and after-school sites into the summer food service program when the school year ends. This year-round approach to providing meals eliminates gaps in service and strengthens programs by allowing sponsors to employ the same staff, as well as maintain relationship with program providers throughout the year. Next slide. The next is to improve meal quality. So serving high quality and appealing suppers and snacks is an important way to draw in more children into the after-school programs and maintain participation. All suppers and snacks provided through the after-school nutrition programs must meet federal nutrition standards, and USDA updated these standards for suppers and snacks served through CACFP, which improved the nutritional quality significantly. Sponsors can further improve meals they serve by incorporating fresh and seasonal food and strengthening contracts to enhance the nutritional quality and appeal of vended meals. The next is to serve meals on weekends, holidays, and school breaks. So after-school programs can receive federal funding to serve meals and snacks through these programs, not just after school, but also on weekends, school holidays, school breaks during the school year. Programs operating on days when school is not in session can choose to provide breakfast, lunch, or supper, and a snack. Maximizing service days helps programs increase the total number of meals claimed for reimbursement, which allows them to reallocate funds from other sources previously spent on food to expand programming or serve additional children. And these days are really significant. For an average school year that runs 36 weeks, weekends equal more than 70 days of missed meal service days. And school holidays and vacations can total an additional 15 days of more missed meals. So the easiest way to add more meals when school is not in session during the school year is to recruit sites that are already providing educational and enrichment programming during those times, such as rec centers, libraries, and youth groups. Next slide. And finally, sites and sponsors can help to reduce barriers in rural communities. So after-school suppers fill the hunger gap that exists for many low-income children in rural communities. These communities have unique challenges that schools, anti-hunger partners, and other leaders should work together to overcome. For example, long travel distances can make it challenging for some children to stay after school, even when programs are offered. To alleviate this barrier, schools can work to adjust bus schedules to allow for meal service and enrichment activity before buses leave. Schools can also consider serving meals immediately after the bell rings in the classroom, alongside offering homework help. Rural communities can also face a lack of sites, which is why policy change must be made to ensure all students have access. Next slide. So states also have the ability to improve after-school nutrition programs. The first opportunity is recruiting more school districts and sponsors. School districts have the capacity and experience to operate the child nutrition program successfully. And one reason is that they often have a captive audience, as many formal after-school programs and informal enrichment activities are offered in school buildings. To expand the number of school nutrition departments participating, state agencies should conduct outreach to eligible schools, identify barriers to participation, and assist schools in overcoming these barriers. States can also streamline and simplify program administration. One of the most common concerns raised by eligible sponsors that are not participating in the after-school supper program is that it requires too much administrative work. USDA gives state agencies several options to reduce paperwork and streamline administrative requirements, such as creating an easier application process for schools and summer food sponsors. States can also reduce duplicative and unnecessary paperwork for schools and summer food sponsors that want to operate the after-school supper program. States can also allow school food authorities to submit an addendum to their school meal application instead of a separate CACFP application, and not requiring budgets or management plans. Next slide. Additionally, anti-hunger organizations can play a role in increasing after-school participation. They can also support the expansion of year-round participation. Many anti-hunger organizations are involved in summer meal outreach. To implement more year-round programs, advocates can help cross-promote both programs during outreach to try to ensure seamless flow between the two programs. They can also help with the recruitment of more school districts. Similar to what was shared about what states can do, anti-hunger organizations can do the same. They can identify school districts where programs are needed and help work through what the barriers are and how they can overcome those barriers. And they can also advocate for policy change. Next slide. So what are those policy changes that are needed to strengthen the after-school meals program? So the first is to streamline after-school and summer nutrition programs. Many community-based organizations and local government agencies that run the after-school meal programs under CACFP, like I said before, also provide summer meals through SFSP. So that requires sponsors to manage two separate programs with different eligibility criteria. By consolidating these into a single year-round program under the Summer Food Service Program, you would reduce redundant paperwork and support sponsors in serving children more efficiently. The second is to allow school food authorities to serve suppers through the National School Lunch Program. So under NSLP, schools are limited to providing snacks after school. To offer a full meal instead of a snack, or to serve children on weekends and school holidays, schools have to operate CACFP, which imposes a significant and unnecessary administrative burden. This often results in schools only providing snacks. To address that issue, any future child nutrition reauthorizations should streamline the after-school nutrition programs by allowing schools to provide up to a meal and a snack any day during the regular school year through NSLP, similar to the flexibility that is offered through CACFP. Lowering the eligibility threshold. So to participate in CACFP's after-school programs, sites must demonstrate they're in a low-income area where at least 50% of children are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. While NSLP sites can use individual student eligibility, this method does not provide free reimbursements for snacks, making it financially less feasible. The current 50% threshold excludes many communities with less concentrated poverty, such as rural and suburban areas. And during the pandemic, the requirement to meet the 50% threshold was waived, which increased access and reduced administrative burden. Lowering the eligibility threshold to 40%, the 40% threshold used for 21st Century Community Learning Center programs in Title I schools is a great way to expand access. The next is to increase funding for after-school programs. After-school funding is limited, and in order to run after-school nutrition programs, the programming side must also be able to operate. It is vital that Congress invests in after-school programming, which our friends at After School Alliance will touch on later. And then finally, mandating participation for area eligible sites. So many states have advanced efforts to mandate participation in the school breakfast program and the summer food service program to ensure that schools in low-income areas provide meals to eligible children. This trend is gaining traction in the after-school nutrition space as well, with Virginia and Maine leading the way by passing legislation that requires schools running after-school programs to participate. Next slide. So here are some QR codes to FRAC's resources on best practices. Next slide. And here are links to additional resources for the after-school nutrition programs. These slides will be sent out afterwards, so you can access all of these resources through that or through going to FRAC's website and navigating to our after-school website. Next slide. And now I will turn it over to Meredith.
Hello, I'm Meredith Rokas. I am the Director of Purchasing and Child Nutrition for East Central ISD. I feel very blessed to be here today with you to provide a little bit of a story with East Central ISD. We just celebrated our 75th anniversary as a school district. We started with 16 single room classrooms back in 1975, and we are now a school district of serving 11,500. We are also on that list of a what we call in the state of Texas very a fast growing district. We've had a lot of our rural area of our communities start being subdivided out. So we're also a very unique district where you can see a map of us. We are to the east side of San Antonio. We basically go about 270 square miles, and we have students who are in an urban setting. We service students that are in a suburban setting, and we still have a rural area of our district as well. We have basically been able since COVID time to, under that, we were serving SSO. So all our students were able to receive at no cost breakfast and lunch during that time under SSO for the COVID. But we had started on the journey of becoming CEP certified in some of our campuses. We started off with our elementaries. We went to, at that time when COVID hit, we were supposed to embark upon bringing our middle schools on and just not understanding exactly what that impact would be, because as you can see, our ISP right now is currently 50.27%, which means we have a claim reimbursement of 80.43. This is just recent this past year that we were to certify under that. Prior to coming off of COVID, coming off of SSO, we were actually in the mid 70s. Our district at that time also, pre-COVID to into COVID, we were being serviced with another third party that was providing a supper program for us. But due to all this, situations with that, in essence, that relationship got severed. So we had a population that was used to receiving, how we say, a school-wide model of a supper. And when we were coming off of COVID, we were also understanding our community was really accustomed at that point of having no cost associated with their breakfast and lunch. They also, of course, had the supper at no cost, even though we were not providing it through our child nutrition department. Our superintendent, he's very much about our community, rightfully so, and we did not want to pass on to having our families now having to submit free and reduced lunch applications. I came on in the fall of 2021. So we kind of were coming out of that 1 year of COVID. Our fund balance definitely hit a good how we say, had a good dip in there and we were having to recover. But nonetheless, our superintendent said we need to ensure that we're providing at no cost breakfast and lunch. So we found ourselves boldly going where we've never gone before to become 100% CEP for all our campuses, pre-K all the way up to our one at that time traditional high school. It was a challenge my first year as a child nutrition director, trying to understand revenue coming in, expenditures going out. We had a very, how we say, kitchens that were pretty much dormant for a period of years. We were doing bulk services. Either which way, there's a lot of transition, but knowing that we wanted to ensure that our families were not being, again, impacted negatively with everything costs, supply chain issues and so forth. So this past year, we actually went where we were providing also CACP. We went ahead and took on that challenge. We had our NSLP and breakfast programs, but we were providing an after school snack, but it was just for our YMCA programs after school. But our superintendent also at that time, because we were offering supper, we had already moved to where we had extended minutes in our day and where we were delaying the school buses. And so that model of that best practices that was shared earlier by Kelsey, exactly what we kind of did. We have basically where instructional time ends, and when we were taking the last 10 minutes and we implemented a program of enrichment, we had a lot of enrichments already going on at a lot of campuses, but this is where we really start embarking upon providing healthy messages, the wellness plan, getting out physically fit to, what is broccoli, proteins, carbohydrates. So last year, through our CACFP program, we served 517,000 meals and a little bit of change, as one would say. We brought in $2.4 million in revenue. We served at all 11 of our schools, but it was kind of, we say, our elementary model. I will explain to you on that part. We kind of reverse it. Like we do breakfast in the classroom. Well, we do CACP in the classrooms. We brought the foods to them. And I'll show you in the next slide in a little bit exactly how we did that. But I just want to kind of show you our counts in 23-24. One reason that made CACP so transitionally friendly for us in terms of that, we already start doing a campus-wide after-school snack program because we had those extended delayed delayed buses, and we were able to provide an after-school snack. So we weren't just providing at that time to our YMCA students that were staying after. We were able to start the year before in that with our elementary. So that 23-24, we already kind of had an understanding of how the impact or growth could happen in that type of model. Again, this type of model that we implemented was kind of a piggyback of a model that we already had done prior to COVID. And so we had a lot of history. It just wasn't us running it. So we kind of had a visual of what we needed to do, and we've been tweaking it ever since. This year, of course, we're expanding. So we opened a brand new elementary. And this year, last year we did a new elementary, but this year we actually brought on a new middle school. And so we have right now targeted, we have not started our CAC program. We started on Monday. We kind of get the school year starts. So we've been doing the after school SNAP program to ensure for the YMCA still able to be in compliance with our contract with that partner. But the main thing now is on Monday, we will start with 9 campuses that will be running Monday through Friday. Last year, we only had 8. That 9th one was we redid a constitution of a middle school, and in their program, they actually, in their charter per se, is mandated to have after school enrichment Monday through Friday clubs and so forth. So we're actually going out of middle school now, Monday through Friday, which we're excited to see that. We will not be doing the supper in the classroom like what we do at our 8 elementaries, but we will have it going through our cafeteria. The other 3 sites, which encompasses a high school and 2 other middle schools, they're going to be on a flex schedule. We usually provide that supper around the time of STAR and attendance recovery and so forth. So the main thing is I just wanted to lift up is you're going to see one thing about these programs is you got to make it your own. And that's why I'm going to talk a little bit about best practices. But one thing that's made our program where it needs to be is we have this supported by our superintendent, our school board. And the other thing is it's helped us even expand our wellness plan because our wellness plan is about healthy messages and activities. So that's kind of in a nutshell what East Central has been providing within the course of the last 2 years ago to last year. And we're just continuing to be embarking upon our new ways of providing these meal services. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide, I'd like to just kind of say what our game changers were and give you a little bit more insight about our actual program. So each site we had to look at as an individual program. Yes, we're a school district, and a lot of people say, well, everything needs to be like that on across the board. You can't do that when you have the distances and the sizes are different at each of our sites. We have some elementary that are serving like 1,200 kids. That's like a city. And two, we have some elementaries that are only serving 500. And so we had to look at every campus as an individual program. We knew that some could go Monday and Friday because they have the extra extended minutes, or say they have the instructional time and then the extra minutes before the buses leave and their enrichments are going on. So we were able to do Monday through Friday, and then we're able to do flex schedule. We are trying to be a partner to our campuses. We're not trying to be done to them, but for them and our community. We also had to look at, how do we deliver those meals into those classrooms, and do we use Cambros, or we have utility type of wagon supper. I'm not sure what that happens. Please, I see a grammatical error, and that's kind of throwing me off. But basically, you can see in the bottom corner of our slide, we have wagons. And so the wagons are set up when they go into the classroom, where we have our entrees so they can stay hot or cold, depending on what we're providing. We have a variety of milk, we have our fruit option, and then we also package our vegetable all in the same kind of a beach wagon. But we do the same thing for Cambros in a different manner of our trays, because we have also in some of our schools, we have called learning labs. And so there's multiple classrooms. And so we really kind of, how we say, customize and differentiate it for our campuses. We also know that we have to get the documentation. So we do rosters, like paper rosters, and that takes a lot of printing, takes a lot of stuff on our managers. But at the same time, we have some campuses that just give me it on my laptop. So we gave them access to our point of sale system. We incorporated where they're taking the attendance, they're taking our sales, we're doing the training. And so we, in essence, for the East Central ISD, again, we service about 11,500, but we also have about 1,300 teachers. And we pretty much, these last 2 weeks, we've been training them everything to hit the compliance on civil rights. We've trained them up on the idea of how to use our point of sale system. We've trained them up on everything regarding the services and what the meal component pieces are. I do want to lift up our program. It goes around a point system. We are offer versus serve model in our CAC program. So we are on a point system. We took this from after actually doing some tours of other districts in our area that were doing CACFP. And so we point system out. The entrees is 2 points, vegetables 1 point, milks is 1 point, fruits 1 point. And they, as long as they hit the 3 points, and knowing that they cannot duplicate, they cannot repeat on certain things, they can of course take all 5 points. We kindly encourage them, but anything that we don't use and is able to be securely rebought and it's put into our line the next day, so we do not lose those revenues, and we making sure that our food and items are also remaining safe at all time. But I do want to lift up also, we knew we cannot do just hot days every day. So we do hot days versus cold days. We had to really look at our calendar. We're going to a 3-week menu cycle. We were at a 2-week. We realized we need a little bit more kind of, how we say, time and support with bringing in those items. We also, it helped us with our special diets by going now to a 3-week menu cycle in order to we provide those services to the students who have those needs as well. But I also want to say a game changer for anyone that's doing CACB, you have to have a team approach with everyone. We embarked where, our custodial staff, it rocked their world. How do we come back together to support making sure the trash bags are appropriate for the classroom? Do we have enough trash cans? We want to make sure, of course, special education, the special diets, because we found out that our life skills kids have a different instructional minutes times. So they're leaving a little earlier. And so how do we delay them so they can too also get supper? And then the last part I just want to lift up is be part of those enrichments and training opportunities, because child nutrition has a lot to offer in any school district, any programming. We have a dietitian. She's very on the fly about her how to do AI, to do different types of social medias. She created a whole platform of healthy messages. So every day we have healthy messages, and our PA systems are robust enough that our secretaries at the campus level can record them. And so as the food is being deployed, they're hearing healthy messages over their PA system. The teachers are able to focus on providing, making sure the kids are going through the line, they're hitting our point systems. And of course, we're deploying our staff around to making sure that we're hitting those compliance pieces, and we are teaching, coaching up just as we would any of our staff members. We see those teachers as an extension of us, and they see us as well. But I do appreciate this time, and if you ever have any questions later on in the thing, I'd love to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meredith. And now I'm going to hand it over to Amy Hobbs.
Hi, thanks, Kelsey, for having me here today. Thanks for joining us, those of you that are joining on this webinar. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Amy Hobbs, and I'm the Senior Director of Food Services here at the YMCA in Southeastern North Carolina. That's Wilmington, where all the hurricanes tend to come, and we're watching Aaron right now. But we are a CACFP sponsor, as well as a summer food service program sponsor. So we are serving meals all year long. We were able to partner with our county schools in a couple of surrounding counties, where we actually have gone in and created those after school programs that Meredith was talking about, where we're doing those enrichment activities, and we are serving those meals. One of the other ways we partner with our schools is having those schools provide the milk. So that's giving a little bit of income to the child nutrition program there at the school system. And so we're buying that fresh milk from them. But we have currently 45 CACFP qualifying sites that we are sponsoring. 26 of those are mine. Those are 26 programs that we're operating in the schools in our surrounding areas, and we have a few YMCA branches as well. And just this year, we are taking on 19 unaffiliated sites. So I have 3 other nonprofit organizations, a couple of YMCAs in North Carolina, and then a Boys and Girls Club, where I am sponsoring their after-school programs that they are also doing in schools and then at their branches. I'm also feeding 7 schools that after-school program sites that are not eligible for CACFP meal reimbursement. So that I'm trying to find food and money to cover those costs. So one of the wonderful things about CACFP is it creates that sustainability financially, so that I can continue to meet the needs of these kids in the after school program. And yes, we do charge for after school programming, but I can't tell you the number of kids that I have in our programs that are on scholarship. We also have a few of our schools that are actually receiving free after school care through grant opportunities that we've been presented. So we don't know what's happening at home. We don't know what these kids are going home to or what they're not going home to. So it's really important to me that we're able to meet that when we can. So in addition to CACFP in the summer, we are sponsoring 17 sites this summer. Currently, I'm kind of standing in 2 different worlds, because our after school programs have started in some of our surrounding counties, but I'm still doing summer feeding here in my county. I have 9 congregate sites where the meals must be consumed on site. So they're getting fed every day. They're getting a breakfast and a what we call a super snack, but claim is a 5-component dinner. And then we are serving 8 rural community sites where they are Sun Meals to Go. They're grab and go boxes. They're getting 7 days of breakfast and 7 days of lunch. And then I've got several sites that I'm supporting summer camp and programming in, where they are not in areas of eligibility. And so we're just feeding those kids as well. But we are serving meals and providing sponsorship to 6 counties here in North Carolina, which was never a part of the deal. I just want you to take note of that van there. That is how we are getting all of our food around. It has been a vital part of what we have done in terms of promoting and letting people know what we're out and doing, especially in the summertime with our rural community sites where we are handing out those boxes. We're really proud of our van and excited to have it. Next slide, please. So the history of our programs, we have at the YMCA here for 6 years, they've been serving CACFP meals. The first 2 years of that program, we had another sponsor, and they were helping facilitate that meal reimbursement for us. We were keeping up with the paperwork and turning all those things in. And then in 2021, in the midst of COVID and all the craziness that was, they were decided that they were going to try to create their own sponsorship. And so here at the YMCA, and so they went looking for somebody, and I happened to be that somebody. So in 2021, I came and to work for the YMCA. Which was kind of exciting and terrifying all at the same time because they had just come into a 3-year contract with our county schools where we were going to provide that after school programming, and we wanted to find a way to feed the kids and get them the most in a meal that we could before we sent them home. And so when I first got started, we had COVID waivers in place. And so we had 19 sites at that time in 2021, and they were all eligible because of the waivers in place. And that is certainly eligibility, and the area of eligibility is certainly something I know that Kelsey talked about advocating for. And that is something that we definitely would like to see happen, in addition to lowering that 50% threshold, maybe down to 40%. But in 2022, the waivers went away. And so then I went from 19 sites to 12 sites, which, just so you know, that was just me. I was the only person running that program. I kind of built this program from scratch, and it was kind of crazy, but a little bit of a relief to go from those 19 sites to those 12 sites. And then we proceeded to grow. And then we proceeded to grow some more. So I've said we've now got 26 sites, and I now have 3 full-time staff working with me in order to help me continue running the CACFP program. But in those early years, as I came on board, those first couple of years, we were only doing a 2-component snack in the afternoon. And when I came on board, I'm like, this will never do. We need to do that 5-component dinner. That's where it will help build that sustainability. It helps pay my salary by being able to have that reimbursement to support those meals and pay for those meals. But we didn't have a kitchen. So we, in talking through things, we had used catering services before. We had actually used the school system, but unfortunately, some of the school system did not, they wanted to charge us more than we were getting reimbursed for, and that was not helping us at all. So we couldn't find a good catering system, couldn't find a good way to get food from point A to point B. And so we ended up going with a shelf-stable route. If I had a kitchen, I would love to be preparing meals, but that's not what I had. And as many sites as I had, this seemed to be a real good fix. So when we started, that top picture you see, that's an office space. And we had shelves, and we had exercise steps that you could put down on the floor so that we could get everything off the floor, although you don't see them in this picture because that was really legitimately the very first year where we were just trying to get stuff in. We had walls in our, this is part of our corporate space where we were, and boxes were lining the walls. And it was insanity. Our CEO would walk through the halls and look at me and say, how soon is this going to be out? And I could never answer him because as soon as I would get rid of it, more would come in because we had to keep having shipments come in to support all of the sites that we were serving. But in the midst of that, in this last year, last July, I moved into the space that you see below. I have 6,500 square feet of warehouse space now. And what you see in this room, the boxes to the left that are white, those are our 7-day rural community boxes. Then what you see there in the next 2 columns are what we're serving for breakfast and for our super snack, i.e. the dinner, are in the middle. And then we have sorting station next. And then all the way to the right up against the wall is where my CACFP meals start. and where we're serving this, because we do have year-round schools. So I'm year-round serving CACFP in addition to the SFSP. So we're really proud of that space that we've acquired. One of the things that we do when we serve those meals is we also do offer versus serve. I love Meredith's point system. I thought that was phenomenal. That's super cool. Might be snatching that one from you, Meredith. But one of the things that we do is we do have a share table. We're able to have a share table. So everything is unitized. Those meals are unitized. And so if the kid doesn't open, let's say, a fruit cup, it goes on the share table. And during that meal service time, any other child that would like to have that fruit cup can go and get that fruit cup. At the end of that meal service, if they don't want that fruit cup, everything gets put in a box and it comes back to my warehouse. And so that sorting station that you see kind of to the right there, where there's open boxes, we bring everything back and we sort it, and then that goes back. That helps us feed those sites that are not eligible. It also goes back into the community. We have a organization here in North Carolina called Nourish NC, where they do backpacks. We donate stuff to their programs. But anyway, we tell the kids that instead of throwing food away, they're throwing it away to the community. So it goes in on that share table and then comes back to us, so that we're not wasting anything. So that's been one of the other beautiful things, is not having that food waste that we were having when we were having catered meals. Next slide, please. So just kind of what our meal looks like. This happened to be one of the meals that I have. It's got a mozzarella stick and some marinara and a whole wheat tortilla. It's got a vegetable juice and some sunflower seeds. And then, of course, milk would come with this as well. So every Monday, our site leads come to our warehouse and they pick up a week's worth of food. Milk is provided by the schools, like I talked about, where we are hosting our after school programs. But we do have a few sites where they actually have refrigeration. And in those cases, I use shelf stable milk. Now, I know what you may be thinking, ew, shelf stable milk, who wants that? I'm going to tell you is the craziest thing I have discovered. And that is that the kids actually like the shelf stable milk better than they do the cow's milk that they get at the schools, because it's good for it's scary, but it's good for a year usually. And but it is regular milk, cow's milk, but it's just been heated at that high temperature, which enables it to be able to be shelf stable, and they just like it better for whatever reason. But we've created what we call a pull chart, and that tells the site leads how much of each of the menu to pull each day. And then we operate a cycle menu. I think Meredith touched on that a little bit. Right now, we're working on 10 menus, which repeat every 2 weeks. So we're on that 2-week cycle menu. I'm hoping to be able to expand that. Sometimes you're a little bit limited with shelf-stable meals, but we are constantly getting new things that are being brought to our attention that we're able to incorporate. But all of those meals are unitized, already in the compliant sizes with the component sizes and with those whole grain requirements as well. You have to serve a whole grain if you're serving a CACFP meal. 1 whole grain a day is what is required to be served. And so all of the grains that are in our shelf stable meals are whole grain, and everything is pre-measured, and I don't have to figure it out or use a spoodle to scoop something to make sure that it is compliant. Then we have our kids line up. And then we give them, I have this little saying that I tell all of my staff when I'm doing training, and that is, you give them a bag, you give them a milk, and then you mark them. So we're marking them at that point of service. We are also using paper. Currently, we are looking for a software system that's going to really accommodate all the things that we have going on. But right now, they're getting a bag and they're getting a milk, and then they're marking them in that point of service to keep us in compliance with the USDA's guidelines. Next slide. So a few things that I find important to remember, and that is that this is a federal program and compliance is incredibly important, and maintaining your integrity and the integrity of your programs is absolutely how we should all operate. This is not our money that I, am spending. This is everybody's money that we're spending, because it's federal money. And so we need to be operating with integrity. So we're going to need to keep all of those records, receipts, and meal counts, menus and attendance, monitoring reviews, and any other CACFP or SFSP related documentation for that current year plus 3 years. Just remember, the CACFP fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. Some people don't realize that. It's not January to December. And then if you're serving a snack, it doesn't take a whole lot more effort to increase that meal to that dinner, that 5-component meal dinner. But the reimbursement difference is huge. If you look there, you see the supplement column. Is a at risk, we are all qualified at free. So that supplement is that snack reimbursement. That's $1.26. But if you look right next to that, that lunch dinner component reimbursement is $4.60. Plus you have your cash in lieu commodity of 30 cents. That is a huge difference. So we want to make sure that if you're wanting to create that sustainability, trying to find a way to serve that dinner is where you can create that sustainability, where you can get that higher reimbursement rate. So take that leap. It might very well mean somebody's salary that can be supported by managing your programs that you're doing. So I would encourage those things. And those USDA rates, this is the new year rates. They are released on July the 1st and they're good to June 30th of the next year. So next slide. And so finally, should I be a sponsor? So it's a huge step to take on sponsorship. If you're brand new to CACFP or SFSP, I would encourage you to find an experienced sponsor who can train you to do that program well. Taking on sponsorship without any experience and not understanding the program is a challenge. When I came on board at the YMCA, I already had 10 years of sponsorship experience under my belt, which enabled me to help do this because I understood the guidelines and the compliance issues. But once you have understanding of that program and your own experience, then you can consider becoming your own sponsor. Sponsorship has many benefits, but primarily you're going to save that up to 15% administrative expense that you've been paying to your sponsor if you're being sponsored by someone else. It does require your state agency to audit you at least every 3 years, and every state can be different. Some states may want to come see you every 2 years. Some of them might want to come see you more often, or if they come and they don't like what they find, they may want to see you a little more frequently. But this ensures that USDA compliance and the integrity of your program. So just because you're a sponsor does not mean you must sponsor others. When I came on board and started this sponsorship, it was never my intention to be sponsoring others, and it's just how it kind of played out. People had a need, and I had an opportunity to share that, and I was growing my staff. And so that's why we have what we have now. So I have a total of 45 sites. But before sponsoring others, I would recommend having a few years and at least maybe one good state audit under your belt. And that picture that you see there, that's some of my staff that I have right now. And that is from one of our rural community sites that we handed out meals to. And this summer has been phenomenal, but it's been really great being able to have the opportunity to serve others and to be able to ensure that there's not food insecurity at least in the areas that I'm working in. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I'm going to hand it over to Jillian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jillian Lechner with the Afterschool Alliance, and it's a pleasure to be here. Amy and Meredith, I'm so impressed. Normally, my coworker, Eric Peterson, is on these calls, and he gets to do all of the nutrition things, but I get to be here today, and I've already learned an enormous amount. So the Afterschool Alliance is a national nonprofit, for those who don't know, just aiming to provide an accessible, high-quality, affordable after-school program to everyone who wants one. On the next slide, you can kind of see how we look at the word comprehensive. It involves a whole bunch of different things. These are programs, of course, that don't just serve after school, they're before school over the summer as well, but they really depend on students' interests, youth voice and choice, and are just designed to have a full menu of components: enrichment, academics, social connectedness, and overall well-being, which of course includes nutrition and physical activity. Research really does show that it's these comprehensive, high-quality programs that provide real outcomes for schools and for students, from attendance to academics, behavior, and even social connectedness. So on the next slide, you can kind of see the landscape of where we are right now in terms of supply and demand. These programs have become increasingly popular year after year. We're seeing now the highest levels of demand ever. In our 2020 survey called America After 3 p.m., we have 25 million students who would like these programs, only 7.8 million who are actually accessing them. And so there's a huge gap there. We also have data at the state level, so something to look at if you aren't aware of what this landscape looks like. And some really exciting news is that we are now in a new cycle of our America After 3. And so in October, we will have new data for all states about supply and demand for after school. So on the next slide, I really just want to highlight, of course, there is this natural partnership, which you all understand, but we have a little bit of data on it between meals and after school programs. So from our last America After 3 p.m. report, we recognize that 71% of parents were really citing nutritious food as a component in picking their child's after school programs. And what I thought was really interesting is this graph on the left side here. And I really think this is a credit to many of you on this call. Parents are increasingly able to agree that the programs are providing healthy meals and snacks for their student. On the next slide, I want to talk about these 21st Century Community Learning Centers programs. It sounds like there's some good familiarity on this call, but for those who don't know, this is the only federal funding stream for after school in the country. And it really helps with that affordability gap that's keeping many of those 25 million families and students from accessing these programs. The federal government is currently providing about $1.3 billion to this funding stream, and it's serving 1.4 million students around at around 10,000 centers across the United States. So on the next slide, just kind of connecting the 21st Century program, one thing I find is interesting. So my job often is to look at kind of policy implementation. And at the state level, states are taking the federal parameters of the 21st Century program and creating their state RFPs. Many of you may be familiar with that process. And so as states run these competitive grants to any program at a school or community-based partner or faith-based partner, they can really design some extra language in those grants to emphasize kind of the meals component. The federal 21st Century funds aren't able to be spent on the meals, but you can see here just a couple examples of states that emphasize the meals connection. So Arizona really telling programs to use the USDA opportunities, even knowing as we do that there is that 40% gap and really trying to be advocates for that as well in the space to close that gap. We also can see programs like Connecticut that as states design their RFP process, they're asking applicants to have a full meal and to get competitive priority points in that application. So some real opportunities there. On the next slide, I just want to highlight the availability of state after school networks. I'm guessing many of you are connected with yours, but if not, it's a real opportunity to get to know, an intermediary or a state that really helps to provide access, quality, professional development for after school programs. They also, over the years, have done some really interesting work in the meals space. A number of them have hosted AmeriCorps Vista members, and that's just added additional capacity. It's allowed them to help break down and explain the paperwork process to make it easier to sign up to be meal sponsors or to map locations of sites to determine where to do outreach to programs. So a really good connection. On the next slide, I just show a couple of maps. One of them is the Illinois After School Network. This is not a specific food site map, but this is also just something to be aware of. There are a number of maps out there, whether from after school networks or the childcare programs that are required to do state consumer education databases, which often list licensed programs, to really look at where school age programs, 21st century programs may be offered in your states. On the next slide, I really wanted to do the thing I think I was most asked to do, which is really a policy update. As was mentioned, there's this deep connection between meals and after school, obviously, and the availability of after school programs in order to be able to give students these comprehensive spaces that include the meals. But one of the things, of course, that we're dealing with this year is that we have an administration that in the last cycle, in the last Trump administration, in every single cycle tried to eliminate or consolidate this 21st century program, which would be devastating to the field. So kind of when this administration came in, we knew what we were up against and we're preparing for kind of another, advocacy fight. So as this, year went on, we saw the president's budget, and the president's budget did in fact propose to kind of eliminate the 21st century program. So thank you to all of you who took action on that and are taking action. The president's budget is just a proposal, but right now it would consolidate 18 Department of Education grant programs into one, what's called K-12 simplified grant process, and it would cut all those funds by 70%. So it would virtually just eliminate the majority of these programs. So this was a fight that we were more or less expecting it and we're working through in Congress. But even during this process, we also had to deal with some funding for fiscal year 25. So as many of you know, fiscal year 25 was completed in the appropriations process that ended with March of this year, the president signing into law the appropriations for that year, which would have meant that 21st Century had $1.3 billion due to be allocated on July 1st. When July 1st came this year, those funds were withheld by the Office of Management and Budget. So there was huge outreach and again, huge activation from the field. So thank you to all who took part, 100,000 emails to Congress, lots of local press, lots of people writing letters, Senate Republicans ended up writing a letter of their own, which really helped to showcase how universally popular these programs are. And so as a result, I kind of cut and pasted some of the text in these slides. You can look at it later. I don't want to spend too much time because I know we're limited. I want to make time for a question and answer, but a real opportunity. So now with that fiscal year 25 process, finally mostly complete with that money in hands of the states, we're really focusing on fiscal year 26. And again, this is where the president's budget has eliminated, consolidated the program into that big block grant. But we have seen some movement in a positive direction. Already the Senate has put forth its numbers for the Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education bill, which would level fund 21st Century. So that's good news from that angle. It would also not consolidate it. However, we are still waiting for the House to put forth its numbers, and that will happen probably potentially the first couple of weeks in September. We know overall the House's complete number for kind of the Labor, Health, Human Services, Education bill is 7% less than it was in the last fiscal year. So we are expecting to see some cuts, and we might even expect to see a block grant. So we really are hoping for, again, a big advocacy campaign to really help support after school programs in this time. That will all come to that will come to a decision-making process on September 30th, which is the last day of the appropriations process, where the Congress will either determine to have a continuing resolution, or we might be headed for a shutdown. So hoping for the best, but making sure we take action. I apologize, it was this slide. Yep, okay, so this is the one I just discussed. So on the next slide, so there are a bunch of related policy issues that you may be hearing about. Again, I just wanted to put these on a slide because if you're interested in any of these, I want you to reach out to me or our policy team at the Alliance. We'd be happy to talk with you about any of these. So just know that they're there and we're here for you on that issue. And on the next slide. So one of the things that I want to do is just thank you all for your partnership and coalition over the years. Here are 4 things that you can do to continue to support after-school programs and their availabilities for families across the country. First, we're asking everyone to contact Congress on the fiscal year 26 appropriations process. Also, if you can, sign up for our newsletter. That will allow you to get kind of data on what's happening in the field, know when we're doing new action alerts, and also get our new data when it comes out on America After 3 p.m. in October. Also, in October is our Lights On After School. Thousands of programs around the country open their doors and showcase what these programs look like and do for kids and families. It's a really exciting event. So please click on that link, learn more about that. If you're a program provider, sign up to participate. If you work with program providers, go and visit, see what they're doing. You should be able to find some events in your area. And then the last one is just connecting with state after school networks. There is federal funding, but there also are a lot of campaigns for state funding that potentially you could be aware of, get involved in, and just understand more about that process. So appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jillian. And thank you to all of our speakers. Steve, you can go to the next slide. We do have just a couple of minutes for Q&A. Are there any questions? If you have them, please put them in the Q&A function. There is a question in the chat about issues with fire and health inspections being completed on a timely manner, and asking if either of you have issues with that. Meredith or Amy?
No, we haven't had any issues with the fire and health inspections, but we're also, except for some of our new builds when they come in and trying to get occupancy type of things, but we actually had no issues. We're really much on top of that as well, in ensuring that we have it in our kind of our calendar events to follow up.
I know that we sometimes have struggled with that because I'm not a school and I'm trying to pull that information for other sites. I would encourage you to make relationship with your fire marshal. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know what you are seeking. And so that's usually how I'm able to acquire that stuff, by reaching out directly to the fire marshal. They're not scary people. They can help you, I promise.
Thank you both. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. But as always, if there are questions that you have after this presentation, feel free to reach out whenever we send up the follow-up email. We will have contact information in that. And yes, I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. And thank you so much for participating. And thank you to all of our speakers for such a wonderful presentation and well-rounded presentation. And we look forward to seeing everyone at the next FRAC webinar. All right, have a great day, everybody.